There are seconds in history that are louder than centuries. A trigger pulled, a scream in a crowd, a body falling, and in that instant, maps are redrawn. Wars wake up, revolutions catch fire, millions of people who will never know the victim's name suddenly find their lives changed forever. What makes it terrifying isn't just the death, it's how small the moment is. A wrong turn, a missed signal, a man stepping too close. Remove that one heartbeat, and the entire future might look different. Tonight we're stepping into the streets, the theatres, the motorcades, and the rallies where history shattered. 5 assassinations, 5 cracks in time, 5 what-ifs that still haunt the modern world. If you like seeing history from the moment it breaks, subscribe now, because once you notice how fragile everything is, you'll never watch the past the same way again. Let's go back to the day a driver stalled a car and accidentally set the planet on fire. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, Sarajevo, June 28, 1914. The air feels thick, like the city knows something is about to happen. Flags hang from windows, soldiers line the streets, crowds gather, curious, cautious, whispering. The Archduke of Austria, Franz Ferdinand, is visiting a province filled with anger toward his empire. Security is tense. Earlier that morning, a young assassin had already thrown a bomb at the motorcade. It failed. The explosion injured officers behind them, but Ferdinand survived. Most leaders would leave. He stayed. He insisted on continuing the visit. And so the cars rolled forward again. Inside, Ferdinand sat stiff, aware of danger, but confident the worst had passed. Beside him, his wife Sophie tried to calm him. The river shimmered, boots echoed, engines hummed. Then history slipped on something absurd. The driver turned onto the wrong street. Someone shouted. He hit the brakes. The car stopped. And standing only a few steps away, shocked, pale, barely believing fate had handed him another chance, was Gavrilo Princip. He raised his gun. 2 shots, Sophie first, then Ferdinand. Witnesses said the Archduke's final words were, "Sophie, don't die, stay alive for the children." Within minutes, both were gone. But the bullets didn't stop there. They kept travelling, through telegrams, through alliances, through empires. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia. Russia mobilised. Germany moved. France followed. Britain entered. A regional tragedy became World War I. 16 million dead. And buried in the peace that followed was humiliation, resentment, economic collapse, perfect soil for something worse growing in Germany. If the driver hadn't turned, if Princip had gone for coffee instead. Does Hitler ever rise? Does World War II exist? Does the 20th century look the same? The modern world may have been born from a mistake made in reverse gear. And that wasn't the last time hope died in front of an audience, because the next leader would fall while laughing. Abraham Lincoln. Washington, D.C., April 14th, 1865. Church bells ring. People cheer in the streets. The Civil War is ending. After 4 years of slaughter, families are daring to believe they might finally heal. Inside Ford's Theatre, candles flicker. Laughter rises toward the balcony where the president sits. Abraham Lincoln looks tired, but lighter than he has in years. He has plans. He wants mercy for the South, a path back together, a nation rebuilt without endless revenge. Behind him, a door opens quietly. John Wilkes Booth, famous actor, Confederate sympathizer, steps inside. He knows the building. He wedges the door shut. He moves behind Lincoln. The play reaches a laugh line. The crowd roars. Booth fires. For a moment, nobody understands. Then Lincoln slumps. Screams erupt. Booth leaps to the stage shouting, "Sic semper tyrannis!" By sunrise, the president is dead, and something else dies with him. The gentle hand many believed could guide reunification. Without Lincoln, Reconstruction hardens, bitterness deepens, racial wounds fester into laws, segregation, hatred that will shape America for generations. Imagine Lincoln alive. Would healing have come faster? Would violence after the war have lessened? History closed that door in one shot. But this next assassination would unfold, not in whispers. It would explode in front of cameras, and the whole world would watch. John F. Kennedy. Dallas, November 22nd, 1963. Sunlight bounces off polished cars. Children wave. A marching band fades in the distance. The president rides in an open convertible, smiling, relaxed. America feels young. The future feels wide open. Then, a crack, another, a third. The motorcade becomes chaos. Agents climb over seats. People run, cry, freeze. The president's head falls forward. Within minutes, the images begin replaying across television screens everywhere. Again and again and again. A nation watches innocence disappear in slow motion. Kennedy had spoken of space, unity, civil rights, a new generation stepping forward. After his death, doubt takes over. Trust in government fractures. Conspiracies bloom. Fear becomes permanent background noise. Would Vietnam unfold the same way if he lived? Would the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy still follow? Or did something break in the American spirit that day? The country aged in seconds. But sometimes the killing of one leader doesn't just wound a nation, it derails the possibility of peace itself. Yitzhak Rabin, Tel Aviv. November 4th, 1995. Music fills the square. Crowds wave signs for reconciliation. After decades of conflict, negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians had begun to show fragile promise. Rabin, a former general turned peacemaker, believed enemies could become partners. Some people admired him, others called him a traitor. But tonight, hope is louder than hate. He finishes speaking. He walks toward his car. A man steps forward from the crowd. 3 shots. Rabin collapses. Blood on the pavement. Within hours, the peace process begins to unravel. Extremists on all sides grow stronger. Trust fades. Violence returns. People still ask, if Rabin had lived, would the Middle East look different today? Would compromise have survived? Or was the dream already too delicate? His death became proof that progress can be murdered, and our final story reminds us of something even darker. Sometimes the world barely notices, but the consequences still spread. Patrice Lumumba. Congo, 1961. Independence had arrived. After decades of colonial rule, Patrice Lumumba promised dignity, sovereignty, a future built by Africans themselves. Crowds believed him, but the Cold War had turned freedom into a threat. Global powers feared where Lumumba might align. Within months, he was removed, captured, executed, and then came decades of dictatorship. Corruption, foreign interference, generations living in instability. Historians argue endlessly about what might have been. Could Congo have become a different model for Africa? Would prosperity have followed? We can't know, because his story ended in silence. Yet millions of lives unfolded inside the shadow of that silence. 5 murders. 5 moments, each one a fork in the road humanity can never walk again. We love to imagine history as unstoppable, like a train on rails, but over and over it turns out to be glass, fragile, one impact away from becoming something else. If stories like this change how you see the world, subscribe, because there are countless other moments where everything almost went differently. Here's the part that stays with you. After the sirens fade, after the funerals end, after the headlines move on, ordinary people wake up inside a brand new future. They adapt, they survive, they never know how close they came to another version of reality. And maybe that's the most unsettling truth of all. The present you call normal might exist only because someone somewhere failed to dodge a bullet. History isn't just written by survivors, it's written by interruptions, and the next one might already be waiting.